Everyone. Really nice to, I'm really pleased to welcome everyone over here and open up our Startup CTO Summit. And it's actually, it almost became a tradition for us to organize those virtual summits, and it's actually already a third summit that our company is organizing and doing in a relatively short period of time, just a bit over half a year. And the feedback is quite positive from all of the previous summits, and we'll continue doing so in the future. And I hope that this summit is going to be even better, even bigger success than we had before. So just a couple of words about myself, even though April has already introduced me. But so I'm a CEO of Glorium Technologies. We've been here on the market for about 12 years by now, and we made it already into the list of Inc. 5000 2 years in a row. So basically managing it, it all works. I also am a part of Forbes Tech Council and part of executive board for Fast Company, and I also advise several startups. So the reason I'm saying is that all of that is not just bragging, but basically it allows me to have a certain perception on the existing world in the startups and all of the nuances and problems that it faces. Okay, so what to expect from this summit? I will give you a long answer because I think it is very important. And so, as I said, in my everyday life, I face a lot with the startups, and the company Glorium Technologies, which I manage. We help to develop mostly to develop digital products, but only that. We also help with the product management, with compliance, certification. We provide marketing and growth services. We do business consulting and even provide bridge investments and guidance for the startups to bring them to the next level. So naturally, we hold so many different conversations with founders, investors, product owners, of course, CTOs, and many of them are concerned about the approach that the startups take in their development. And interesting thing that comes up during those conversations is that apparently a digital roadmap plays a vital role in the success of the entire startup. And this is understandable, especially when we're talking about tech startups. And too many things depend on the product success, and success of the product directly hinges on the tech success. So very quickly, all of those conversations, they actually drop into the tech domain ruled by CTOs. Basically, how to build the teams, what talent to hire, what are the what's the optimal approach to building a platform, what are the latest trends to stay on top, on which of them actually might be helpful, which of them just just a buzz out there, and also most importantly, how exactly all of that helps the business and how to not derail from the initial goals. So I actually will kind of repeat what I said opening our previous summits, but there are actually many other conferences on the topics that we are covering, and including this particular conference or virtual summit about the startups, CTO startups. And there are many other conferences covering this topic for ongoing issues for the CTOs face. And you guys would be absolutely right. And I enjoy visiting those events and listening to the latest trends. But the biggest problems that I found in those events is that the speakers of those events mostly speak on the high-level topics and have very distant relations in relation to the needs of the actors in the startup world and the people that actually build digital products from scratch, first time. And those events are mostly targeted towards the enterprises or really big teams out there. That all of this may not be fully relevant for the startup world out there. Okay, so we actually saw this gap and decided to move in and cover the need. All right, so what I want to do also, I want to set the stage for this summit, and I want to mention a few of the events that are shaping the startup world right now and that directly affect the CTOs. This is, I think, very important to understand before we kind of get to our wonderful speakers to present their views and their ideas. So number one, the facts and events that I want to mention. Number one is the record funding rounds that happened during the last year of 2021. According to the Crunchbase, actually, over the course of 12 months in 2021, investors put $329 billion into startup investments across all stages. And this is actually an increase almost twofold from the levels of 2020, which itself was a record setting. Yes, you would say the news is a bit old, and I'll mention the latest development further. But why I'm mentioning this? Because all of this money that is poured into the startup market that are now being used by CTOs, all of those budgets are used by CTOs in order to build their products. Never before in the history we saw such a massive investment into the new technologies. So of course investors have high expectations after deploying those massive funds. Now number two is as I mentioned, after the heated up 2021, we see a very much cooled down 2022. The inflation is skyrocketing, financial markets are down. Just the Nasdaq index itself is down 30% from the beginning of the year. So all of the tech indexes are down roughly 30%. They align with Nasdaq. Startup valuations are down. Funding has slowed down. This is quite a significant turn from what has happened in 2021. And like, for example, in Europe, the funding is down almost twice, which is, a very sharp turn. Interestingly, recently, Y Combinator has issued a dire warning to its founders to save the money and slow down the growth by prioritizing the cash reserves to survive a potential prolonged market meltdown. So all of those are very alarming calls, and they directly affect and increase the pressure on CTOs in the current market. And but nevertheless, interesting, the global technology spend is projected to grow. The rates of inflation, geopolitical disruption, talent shortages are actually not expected to slow the IT investments. Worldwide, IT spending is projected to total $4.4 trillion in 2022, which is an increase of 4% from 2021, according to the latest forecast by Gartner. And software spending, as part of it, is expected to grow 9.8% to 675 billion in 2022, and IT services is forecast to grow 6.8% to reach $1.3 trillion. What's more, the numbers for 2023 are expected to be even higher. And this is very, I would say, interesting situation with high spending, but high pressure from the business. So we'll see what's going to happen here. And number four, I need to mention in the current in the industry is the continuing labor shortage, which is actually especially felt in the tech industry. So we all saw that during the last 2 years in a row, finding the top talent, finding the proper skills the quality and qualifying skills remains one of the biggest problems that are faced by the tech startups. And it adds to the overall mix for CTOs, right? So to sum up those 4 points that I mentioned, the CTOs actually find themselves in the market where they get squeezed between the investors that have poured tons of money with high expectations, with the market meltdown, and of course, increased business and management pressure to increase the efficiency, increase the output, and on the other side, with continuing problems with qualified talent. So I would say if last year was mostly just a challenge of growing and trying to increase the output, this year the situation has changed a little bit, and I would say the challenges have increased for the CTOs, for startup CTOs. And it's going to be quite difficult this year to navigate this environment. So now, when the stage is set, let me tell what we tried to achieve when organizing this summit. So we wanted to kind of make a focus on two aspects. Number one, and I mentioned it before, we want to provide the information and the value, and want to target the startup players. I want to provide what startup players really need. No generic topics, no too high level issues or something related to enterprises only, something like that. And number two, we want to focus on CTO challenges that are being relevant to the startups at this moment of time. So we want to be current with the time, and we want to be relevant to the startup CTOs. Okay. And what we also decided to organize this summit were actual tech people involved in the startup tech management and development on a day-to-day basis to deliver their view, share their opinions and expertise, as well as experience and knowledge straight from the trenches. So we expect to get a real actionable advice from those who have already been there and done that. And to kind of set the expectations, what we want to hear from our wonderful speakers that are going to come on board after me is the information from them are generally going to be divided into 3 buckets. So number one is building the teams. What is their, the best approach, best practices, how you usually approach it, how you how you build the teams. You do it in-house only, you outsource, you provide the mix, how to train those teams, improve, how to ensure the best outcome, the best processes are implemented, etc. The bucket number 2 is top trends to follow on the market. Basically, the opinions around what's happening in the tech market, how other CTOs solve common tech problems, what are the helpful new technologies, what are the promising developments to watch, what's out there that's just a buzz and probably not even worth it, and so any other trends related to technology and applied to the process setup and approaches of organizing the teams. Okay, and number 3 is the alignment with the business. This is a very important bucket, even though that those 2 topics that I mentioned above are very important, but we should never forget why tech teams exist, right? So the North Star that we all have to follow is the business need. The tech is there to support the business and to make the business thrive. So how we don't lose this track and keep the proper direction? How do we ensure that everything that we do follows the business goals, and we do not deviate from our initial goals? Okay, so so we expect that our speakers already, those who have been there, that will give their express their vision and give their specific and very actionable advice. The last aspect that I want to mention over here is that this summit is absolutely free, costs nothing to anyone, and this was the idea how we wanted to organize it. None of registrants paid the money, none of the speakers received the money, nobody paid a dime to be here. Okay, so the entire event infrastructure and organization has been provided fully by our company, Glorium Technologies, and our goal is to have a kind of commercially unbiased environment, honest opinions, and candid desire of the industry professionals to share their knowledge and experience. And I hope that we'll hear and see great things from our speakers that will share the stage over here after me. Okay, so I'm really excited to hear what they have prepared. And I would say, let's begin. April, over to you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I really love what you said, Andrei, about that the tech is there to serve the business needs and the goals. And I feel like, in general, that's something I feel strongly about as well. The business is there to serve the customers, right? And to serve the clients, whoever the end target market is. So that should be our goal as businesses, as business leaders. So I think it's good to keep that in mind. And then when we do that,
Absolutely.
then you don't right, then you don't end up coming up with solutions that are relevant to no one just because they're fancy. Right, so you want to make sure that the solutions are serving an existing need.
Yeah, so sometimes
Yeah.
it's and you will see it from the speakers. Most likely, some of them will have to mention, but because this by itself is a problem. Tech people are, very often have narrow focus on their tech issues, tech problems that they need to solve, and they're focused on solving them, forgetting sometimes why they're solving them. What is this North Star? What is the reason this tech problem even exists? So
right. No,
yeah,
and that's really important too, because sometimes those needs shift too, right? So you have a situation where you developed a solution that was relevant, and then the need of the marketplace changes. But if you're just so myopically focused on, okay, this solution is the solution, then you miss that, okay, now we need to pivot a bit and change things so that it's more relevant to today's audience, right? To today's clients.
Absolutely. This is, this pivoting, it's actually is one of the big problems also that CTOs very often discuss because market never change, never, it's not stale. It never stops and moves very often. And pivoting the business is one of the things that CEOs and business people and product people do very often. And CTOs will have to follow.
I know it can be painful at times, right?
Married to their technologies that they have created or the success that they have achieved, the tech success that they have achieved. They always have to remember that they have to serve the business. They have to make sure that the product is properly done from the tech standpoint.
Definitely. Yeah. All really good points there.